back. This is going to be part 4 of the Pengo. We are going to paint the cabinet today. I did get out today. I did make it to the paint store at like 11 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was the only person that called to see if they were open, and B, was the only person that actually had been there so far today. So I had a hard time matching this color. We got it close. It might be a little bit too gray. I'm not sure yet. We're gonna have to see once we spray it, because I just took some on my finger and put it on here, and it's close. Well, that's the darker part, but I mean, it's pretty close actually. That's it right there. This is the original color. So we're gonna have to spray it, because when you put it on with your finger, it kind of screws it up. And we'll see what it looks like. Might have to doctor it up a little bit. I'm hoping not, because I wanted to have a paint code for this, and I do have a paint code for this. So I'll just kind of put it on the video here. It's called Blue Frost. It's actually very expensive. This is a quart can, but I only got a pint, so it's only half full. And the reason why I got a pint was, hold on. So the reason why I only got a pint versus a quart is because once it's reduced, it's going to make a quart sprayable, which is more than I need for the cabinet. I probably could have got away with about a half a pint, probably 8 ounces, which would have made a full pint sprayable. But I was a little worried. I wasn't sure if it was going to be enough and if I'm going to like the color or not. But the more I'm looking at it, it's not too bad. I think it's pretty close. I paid $120 some for a pint of this color. So if I would have bought 8 ounces, it would probably have been about $70, which isn't bad to do the whole cabinet. So it's definitely a little bit more than I expected, but I had to buy the better quality paint because they didn't have this paint code in the cheaper paint. I mean, sometimes it just is what it is. It's hard to find some of these colors that are non-metallic in automotive paint, because everything that's automotive painted for the most part is metallic. So it took a little bit, but we'll see what it looks like. We'll use this board as a reference to hold up to it, but the more I'm looking at it, it's not too bad. It might be a hair to the gray side, but we'll see. And also, I had made a short video last night, which I deleted it because I completely screwed it up. I was talking about Phoenix Arcade. I found an original control panel for Phoenix Arcade for $100 with all the buttons and the wiring harness and everything on it. So I just bought that, rather than taking the Phoenix control panel that I have with the trackball cut out of it and having to weld that back in and drilling new buttonholes. So I did that. The control panel overlay came from Quarter Arcade. They had some original screen, not original, but some reproduction screen printed ones that supposedly matched the original like perfectly. And then yesterday on eBay, I won a original, never used, brand new original control panel overlay for Pengo. Paid $52 for it, or $54 for it, and $15 shipping. So I really can't complain. Now, when that comes, because it's an original one from the early 80s, if it's not super sticky, we might have to spray some 3M Super 77 spray adhesive onto the control panel first, and then put the control panel overlay onto it. I've done that in the past and it works well. So that's the worst case scenario. I might just do it anyways to be on the safe side. So we should have the original control panel overlay. The only thing that's not going to be original to the game is the side art. Everything else other than the side art and the paint is going to be 100% original, right down to the control panel overlay. So that's why I deleted that short video, because I'm like, I originally said I found a Phoenix control panel overlay, original one of those as well, and I didn't. It was actually a Pengo one. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sand this cabinet down with 180 and 320 like I do in all these cabinets. Grab my pencil here. We're going to mix up a little bit of glazing filler and fill in anything that I see that could be an imperfection that might show up once I get done sanding it. See what we got here. I think this side was, for the most part, pretty good. I think the other side, oh yeah, we got a little bit of chipping here on this edge. I think for the most part, this side was pretty good. Make sure you guys use a pencil. I said this in other videos. Don't use a Sharpie. A Sharpie could cause a nightmare in the future. Sharpies are oil-based, and it could bleed through your paint job, so don't do that. I mean, chances are you'll sand off the Sharpie, but if you don't for some reason and some's there, you could potentially run the risk of having it bleed through on you. Use a pencil, you don't have to worry about that. So once again, I'm just going around and putting little circles or marks around areas that I see now. Stuff like that will probably sand out in the primer because I put 3 heavy coats on here, but I don't want to risk that. So we're going to mix up a little bit of that glazing filler and fill them in now. Now, it's not been sanded, and usually they recommend putting the filler over sanded material, but this is still a little bit rough, and I've never had a problem with it because we're filling in literally stuff that's smaller than the tip of the pencil eraser. So I'm not worried about it. And also, I get a little nervous when those stay there and you sand around it and it's still low. No matter if you blow out the dust or not, you still might have some dust in there. Then your body filler is sticking to dust. So I would rather stick it to this than to dust. I know that, yeah, here's a spot. A little tiny one there and there. I get a little bit carried away with this. This is normal stuff that would, like I said, would more than likely sand out. You would never see it. But if I'm here doing it, I mean, it takes nothing for me to touch these spots up real quick and let it dry for a couple minutes. I actually ran the primer on the bottom of the cabinet in 2 spots. The reason being I ran it there and over there was I put it on real heavy because I saw an imperfection, and actually it filled it in. So I got the spots marked that I saw when I was putting the primer on. So in my video that I showed all the materials that I use for cabinet repair and painting and stuff, I showed you guys this in the past from O'Reilly Auto Parts. The final glaze, or fantastic glaze from U-Pull. We're going to use that. Actually, this one's almost empty. When these things are about empty, you still feel some weight in them. Take a razor blade and cut them open. There's still a bunch of material stuck to the sides of this that you cannot squeeze out. So don't throw it away because you still have a decent amount of material in there. So once again, I'm just going to mix up a little bit of this, and when you put this on the cabinet, make sure you swipe 2 different directions, because if you just swipe it one way, it doesn't fill it in all the way. But by going 2 different directions, that seems to fix it. And obviously, we'll be fast forwarding the sanding process and stuff like that. It's the same as every single cabinet I do. We also need to paint the coin door, which is over there, and the marquee bracket for this. Satin black, or matte black rather. You only have a couple minutes to use this stuff too. Definitely dries fast. All right, I don't think there's really anything else that I was concerned about. Everything looks really good, actually, in this corner in here. There's actually a little bit of a gap when I fitted the piece of wood. And that's going to be a bitch to sand. But don't really want a gap there, so I filled it in. So basically I cut the wood like a 1/16 short, and there was a little bit of a gap between the side panel and the front where it came together, so I just put a little bit of filler in there to fill it in. All right, we'll let this dry and we're going to get to sanding. Here I was talking about sanding enough to get rid of the orange peel in the primer. Okay, there's two spots that I need to fill. This, where we glued it back together, I forgot to fill that little crack in. We gotta put a little bit of glazing filler in that. And then this top corner right here. That's a little messed up. Now, 99% of the people will be like, oh, that's fine. You'll never see it. It's on the back of the cabinet. I'm doing it already. I already have the materials and everything out. What does it take for me to put a little bit of glazing putty in there? Nothing. Just do it. That's how I look at it. It's really an extra couple minutes of work. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix up some of that, hit that spot, and then that other little crack area. Once that sets up, we'll sand it down. I'm using a black sander, 6-inch black sander with 320 grit just to get into the corners of the cabinet where the DA sander will not sand. All right, it's in the spray booth. It's all blown off, and I wiped it down with the wax, or not with the wax and grease remover. I used the Sprayway window cleaner. I got to put some more paper inside the cabinet, and then we'll be able to start painting it. I'm not going to put an epoxy primer down first as a sealer, because if you see, the only thing that's really poking through is blue, which is the original blue. So that's not going to affect the new blue that I'm putting down. Okay, now we're gonna mix up the blue paint. Now on the back of the cabinet, I ripped off that FCC sticker because it was peeling all around the edges. I took a picture of it before I did that. And I left some of the residue on the cabinet so I know where it goes. So we'll just print a new one and stick it on the cabinet where the old one went. I mean, by the time I slid it down the steps and everything, it probably would have ripped off anyway. So we're gonna get this mixed up. It's a pint in a quart can, so we only need to add reducer to it. And then once I spray this color, we'll have to let it set for about an hour. Then I can tape off the front and the sides and then the inside area right there. And once it's, after an hour, we tape it off, we'll paint the black, and then we can untape it and then satin clear everything. And I'm I'm a little torn on this color because it's definitely lighter when it's wet than when it dries, so I don't know what it's going to dry like. We might have to doctor it up with some other blue. Not sure yet. Hoping not, but you never know. Kind of wanted to have the paint code for it, but if it ends up being a one-off mixed color, that's what it ends up being. No, most people are not using automotive paint to paint their arcade cabinets. So I'm going to get this stirred up and into the cup, and we are going to use a tack cloth. We're going to wipe the cabinet off with the tack cloth, and then we are ready to put the first coat of color on. It should only take 2 to 3 coats of color, and it should be covered. It should cover pretty quickly. Okay, if I were to say, I say that's pretty close in color. We're going to take this piece out there and look. It definitely sprayed different than what it did when I just dabbed it on the piece of wood. But I would say if you use the automotive paint and you use this DBC by PPG, you're going to want to get 12 ounces of it, because there is a little bit under a quart left, or under a pint left. Okay. So I bought a pint, which is 16 ounces. So I definitely think you can make it on 12 ounces of paint, which is, if I were to guess, is probably going to cost you around $80 to $100. But, you know, like I said, most people are not using automotive paint to paint their cabinets. I have the ability to do it. And yes, it costs me a little bit more money, but I like the end result much better. So I would rather pay a little bit more to have a much nicer looking paint job, you know, than doing it a different way. So as you can tell, I dabbed some more on there just to see, and you can see it's definitely lighter color when it gets thick, but it sprays darker. This looks a little dingier because behind the artwork was a little bit brighter blue than the rest of the cabinet. So I don't think it's too far off. I think it's pretty close. I think it's going to be close enough, put it that way. But yeah, it was definitely bluer under the paint job. It was definitely, the rest of the cabinet was more gray of a color, and that's just due from age and dirt and everything else. So I'm going to let this set for an hour now, and then we'll tape off all the blue areas, and then we can put the black on it, peel the paper off where the blue is, and then put the clear on. So I'll be back in about an hour. All right, I let it set for almost 2 hours, so now I'm gonna tape off all the blue areas so that I can shoot the black, and then we'll untape it and put a little satin clear over top. All right, now I'm going to mix up some straight black base coat, automotive, and we will get all the areas that are not taped off. A couple light coats, and then about 15 minutes after that, I'll be able to untape it and we can do the clear coat, which I should probably start mixing that now. We're using the Summit Racing Satin, Hot Rod Satin Clear. All right, so I'm gonna get this mixed up and we're gonna go out there and get that black on. All right, let's take a look at it. Turned out real nice again. Another real nice smooth paint job. Color looks good. I left that little scratch. I didn't want to do body filler over that. Not too worried about that. If you saw when I was putting this tape on here, I put it on my pant leg first, and what that does is gets rid of a little bit of the stickiness of the tape so that it won't peel the paper off the sticker. Looks real good. I like the color. I think it's pretty damn close. So let me give you that paint coat again. So the paint coat is, hopefully I didn't cover it. It's called Ford Frost. OEM color is M6610D. There's a better picture of this label at the beginning of the video. So that's going to wrap up part 4 of the Pengo. It's ready for the basement and reassembly. We got to do the coin door and the lower marquee bracket. We're just going to scuff it up with some red Scotch-Brite pad and just hit it lightly with the spray can. And that's it. We're not even taking it apart. We're just going to tape off the coin reject buttons, anything that needs taped off on the front surface. We're not going to do inside the coin door or anything like that. It doesn't need it. But other than that, that's pretty much it. Let's hold that old piece up to the new color and see how it looks now. Keep in mind this is old and dirty and kind of crappy. I tried to clean it right here a little bit, but I'm gonna say that's pretty close, guys. Like I said, this is a little dingy and dirty because this was the kick part of the cabinet. But I noticed that underneath the sticker it was lighter in color, so I'm gonna go with that's a good color. I don't think you're gonna get any closer than that. But you know, that's an automotive paint color, so if you're going to do like cabinet paint or something like that, you're going to have to go to the store and grab samples of blues like that and bring it home and kind of hold it up to your cabinet. So that's going to end part 4. We'll probably do the coin door and marquee bracket tomorrow, and maybe I'll show you all the parts laid out in the basement and stuff like that. Pretty much now is just assembly videos. We need to just start putting games together. And getting the tables out of the basement because I got 4 tables down there right now full of parts. So all right guys, that's going to end this. If you wouldn't mind hitting the thumbs up, I'd appreciate it. Anybody you would think was interested in something like this, please share my videos. I'd really appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe. It just lets you know when I put out new videos. So I appreciate it guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.